We're going to talk about one of the most taboo topics ever. We're going to talk about money. So let's talk through my low buy challenge for 2025. I've got all of my plans in my notes. I've got a list of quotes to kind of remind me as to why I'm actually doing this, my long-term goals, my short-term goals, my benefits for doing this, my barriers that I predict will be some of the setbacks that I have, my routine habits that I want to put in place for 2025, my helping actions, my agreed spending list until the end of Q1. And I want to do quarterly updates of where I'm at for 2025, my consumption rules, so what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then I have a list for instead of shopping, I could be doing this instead. And it's a list of activities of what I could be doing instead of shopping. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So my long-term goals that I want to reach by the 31st of December in 2025 is that I want to have $15,000 of emergency funds saved, and I want to have a total of $10,000 in investments. So as it is, I actually have an account with a micro investing platform which is called Raise, and so I have about $4,000 kind of invested in there at the moment, but I want to get it up to about $5,000. Then last year I actually opened up an account with Perler, which is a different investing platform, and I have about $750 in there, but I want to get it up to $5,000 by the end of this year. So my short-term goals for my emergency funds for the rest of the year is that by the end of Q1 I want to get to $7,000. I want to get to $9,000 by the end of Q2, by the end of Q3 $12,000, and by the end of Q4 $15,000. So the benefits, and this is one of the things that I really wanted to kind of highlight to myself, so that every single time I felt like purchasing something, I would look at this list and remind myself as to why it is that I'm actually doing it. So the benefits that I have written down is that I want to have funds for any kind of emergency or health needs, because up to this point I haven't really been good at having an emergency fund for unexpected expenses, so I really want to have that just in case of anything. Secondly, the financial freedom to take a career break if I wanted to. So for a while I have felt like I am experiencing a lot of burnout from essentially having like a career where I don't feel like I can really switch off, because the work that I do is very much thinking based and very much knowledge based. And so if I ever decided that I wanted to take a career break, I want to be able to have the funds to support me while I do that. And that's kind of a big driver for me having this emergency fund in place. Thirdly, the freedom to travel internationally. And so I wrote down some places that I really want to go to. So Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia is like top of my list, followed by London, Turkey, but also Japan as well. And then lastly, if Alex and I ever decided that we wanted to have a family, the fourth thing that I have on my list is to save for a baby / starting a family with Alex. Barriers was something that I kind of had to do a bit of self-reflection on myself as to why it is that I spend money so recklessly in the way that I can sometimes do, or as impulsively as I sometimes do. And number one is feeling like I need to compete with my friends or people on social media. So as a result of that, I've actually tried to limit my time on social media. Secondly, fear of missing out if I say no to an activity. This is another big one for me. Like I just sometimes choose to do an activity because I want to spend time with the people, as opposed to because I want to do that activity. And so that's something that I'm trying to be a bit more mindful of, is just being really selective of like, if I do want to spend time with those people, could I do that in a different way, or in a way that we are just able to kind of spend time with each other without having to spend a lot of money on an activity. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do better in 2025. Number three is such a stupid one, but it's one that I felt like I had to mention, and that is looking like I have no money or needing to maintain the image of me being bougie. I had to really sit down and actually really think about that, but I don't know why I've always equated it to me being bougie or me being classy meant that I had to spend money to kind of maintain that image, which is so ridiculously silly. Calling myself out with that one, so I felt like I had to write it down. Number four is like boredom or needing to fill my time. So I realized that when I wasn't engaging in any of my like favorite hobbies like reading or content creation, I was kind of killing time by trying to like essentially fill it up with like online shopping, and I realized that that was just draining my funds. So that's something I'm trying to be a bit more mindful of. And finally, feeling insecure about myself in some way. So if I feel like I am not, you know, thin enough or pretty enough, I always feel like I need to remedy that by trying to purchase something, and that's just not the solution to anything and everything. So the routine habits that I want to put in place for 2025 to kind of support this is that I want to track my spending via Google Sheets. Secondly is to save a minimum of $1,000 per month. I also do want to clear my Afterpay payments by early February, so I do have quite a bit of Afterpay left to pay off, but I want to try and like clear it by early February and hopefully aim to not have any Afterpay payments for most of this remaining year. Next is setting up fortnightly payments of $50 for Raise and $150 into Perler. Have no spend weekends weekend every month. So Alex and I actually did this in December as a bit of a trial, and we actually did really enjoy that weekend itself. So we're going to try and do that every single month. Set one no spend day weekly, so that's usually going to typically be a Wednesday for me because that's the day that I work from home. Traveling internationally at a max of 3 times this year. Now this was really a difficult line that I had to draw in the sand because Alex and I actually calculated, and I traveled 6 times last year, one of which included a 3-week trip to Indonesia with my family, which was absolutely lovely, but not so great for my funds. So this year we are limiting it to 3 times as a maximum, but ideally we'll try and see if we can aim for 2. Lastly, Uber Eats just once a week, so it can either be Alex or me, not both. Some helping actions that I've got is to sell some of my designer bags that I'm not using as much anymore. So I've actually just sent off my Gucci Soho Disco to be consigned. The Gucci Marmont bag I'm also planning to sell as well. I did love it for a time, but I don't use it that much anymore, and so I kind of feel like it's just wasted money in my closet, and so I might do a consignment thing with that as well. I might sell my white YSL pouch again. I haven't decided yet. I do use this one a lot more than the other ones, especially for weddings, so I'll see how I feel about that one. And then thirdly is to put my tax return into my savings or to invest it when I do get it back post June. So every single quarter, as part of my low buy, I'm going to give myself an agreed spending list, and the reason for that is because I know myself to know that if I go cold turkey and not allow myself to spend at all, I will end up almost like a binge or some kind of like addict, like crashing and end up spending way too much money. So I've given myself a list so that, you know, if I do want to spend or I do want to shop for something, this is what I can buy, and I've given it a lot of thought into what I can actually buy, and this is only the spending list for quarter 1, and then I'll revise the list for quarter 2, 3, and then 4 as well. So on my agreed spending list, I've got 2 pairs of summer sandals or heels, and the reason for that is because I do have 2 pairs of sandals that I tend to wear in summer, but they are starting to die out already, and so for this one it's more so that I'm trying to replace those pairs of shoes. Secondly is a work backpack. I'm currently carrying a Kanken backpack for work, and as much as I love it, it is starting to see a lot of wear, and it's not the most professional looking bag as well, so I'm thinking about getting one that's made out of leather. If anybody has any recommendations for some affordable ones, please let me know down below. Thirdly, some stickers to decorate my Kindle, just because I feel like I need to zhuzh up my Kindle a little bit, and I'm trying to delay replacing my Kindle that I've had for 10 years. So some stickers to decorate it might, you know, zhuzh it up and make me feel like it's a new one, at least for a little while. Fourth is the spectacular hardback. So I actually have the Caraval trilogy in a hardback version. I have this beautiful edition that was released at Christmas, and I don't have the 4th book that was recently released as part of that set, and so essentially I want to get it to just complete the set. Fifth is 1 pair of New Balance sneakers, and I've given myself a caveat that I can only get these sneakers if I go on 2 hikes in this quarter. It's now almost the end of January. Have I done that? No. So am I probably going to get these sneakers? Probably not. Next, as part of this list, I'm going to probably buy my tickets to go back to KL for Eid or for Raya. So that's definitely something that I know I'm going to spend money on. And then lastly, a hair appointment for Eid, which is estimated to be around 700 bucks. But I do that, you know, 2 or 3 times a year. So my consumption rules for what's allowed and what's not allowed. So what's allowed is ingredients for new recipes that I want to try, homemade desserts to prevent takeout, gifts. So I'm limiting it to $150 per person, with the exception to Alex because I do tend to spend a bit more on him. Events, so ideally less than $150 per month. 1 Kindle book per fortnight, but I must have read a book in the last fortnight to justify that purchase. And then lastly, any kind of classes for my self-development or learning is okay. What's not allowed is, so no new skincare until I finish what I have, no new makeup unless replacing daily ones, no more cameras because goodness knows I bought so many cameras last year, no new tech unless replacing, no more clothes, and that includes swimwear, no bags aside from the work backpack that's part of my agreed spending list, no more house decor and just things like that because sometimes I go to Kmart and I'm just like, oh, that's really cute, but actually I don't really need it. Not planning to eat from my fantasy self, so sometimes I buy groceries with the intention to mimic some kind of like health eater that I saw on TikTok, but the truth is that I actually hate the ingredients. I don't know why I do that to myself. So that's actually something I'm going to try and do in 2025, is actually just be more selective with the recipes that I want to cook based on the ingredients that I actually love. So that's another one. So no physical books with the exception of the spectacular hardback. And then lastly, I've got a list of like, these are some things that I could do instead of shopping. So number 1 is practice gratitude and actually focus on what I have. Number 2 is surround myself with abundant thinkers. You are the company that you keep. Number 3 is look for the win-win in every scenario, so that I kind of get into the mode of actually seeing things through a more positive lens, because I realize that when I look through things in a positive lens, that really influences how I behave and how I treat money. Number 4 is practicing no spend weekends and doing that once a month. Number 5 is investing in experiences rather than purchases. And number 6 is engaging in a no spend activity. And I've got a full list below. So some of the things that I had is reading, going for a walk, filming and editing videos, trying out a new recipe, playing a board game, swimming, going to the beach, sitting in a park, telescope midnight picnic, which is so specific, but it's very, very me. A photo shoot somewhere pretty with my friends, shopping my library, shopping my closet / playing dress up, and then decluttering and selling, and doing that maybe 20 or 30 minutes at a time. And then just to kind of like make myself feel like, you know, I've achieved something by the end of quarter 1. If I've actually achieved my $7,000 emergency fund goal, I have given myself a potential reward. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. Right now I have it written down that I get to go on like one fancy dinner, maybe to Crown, for example, but I haven't quite figured it out yet, so I will let you guys know if that changes. So yeah, those are my rules for my low buy for 2025. If you have appreciated, or you're going to take any of the tips that I mentioned today as part of your low buy, please let me know down below. If you have any kind of recommendations for books to read or things for me to look at to kind of help me with this challenge, I also would like to know as well. As usual, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And lastly, subscribe to my channel for more videos on books, beauty, and intentional living. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!